Hi, it's Mitch here with Ron Romanelli at SportsChatPlace.com, here with some free college football picks for Week 5 of the 2021 college football season. Ron, how's it going?
It's going good. How you doing, Mitch?
I'm doing good. We saw some ranked teams go down in Week 4, and I expect we're going to keep seeing that every single week. You know, that's why the college football playoff doesn't come out until mid-October. And I think we're seeing for good reason. But this week, we're going to see some games that are going to probably have an impact on that playoff. And, we'll get to those when we get to them. We got Western Kentucky up against Michigan State in the first of these. And Michigan State, kind of a surprise team here in the Big Ten, but going undefeated. They'll have a shot at some of the big guys here as well. And that Big Ten championship game, if they can keep undefeated, they could be the sleeper in the big playoff. What are you thinking in this game?
Yeah, I mean, they definitely have the schedule to do it. I'm a little worried about their offense, to be honest with you. You know, it didn't look too good against that Nebraska defense. I know Nebraska's a tough team to play against, but not a single first down in the second half of that game is not acceptable. And when you're playing a Western Kentucky team like this, a team that can put points up on the board, we've seen the quarterback Bailey Zappi do well at Houston Baptist and here at Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky already faced a Big Ten team last week against Indiana, and they caught a cover in that one. I just think Bailey Zappi's going to put up enough in the passing game. He had 3 touchdowns and over 300 passing yards last week. I think when you see an offensive first and a defensive first matchup and you're laying 10.5 points with the defensive team, it's just a little too scary for me. I can see Michigan State controlling this game tempo-wise from start to finish, but even then, laying 10.5 is just too much for me to pass up with Western Kentucky. I'm going to take the points with the Hilltoppers. I think they find a cover.
You know, for me, I just looking at this thing, a lot of Michigan State's big wins have taken place on the road. Now we have homecoming in East Lansing. So, you got to remember 4-0 Spartan team, homecoming, all those things. It's a tough environment here. Big ask out of Western Kentucky. We go to Tuscaloosa, where the Crimson Tide take on the Ole Miss Rebels. This is one of those rivalry games that, sometimes you could just throw the record book out the window, but this year we don't need to even do that. Ole Miss has been tough as nails, and Alabama, that's Alabama. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, if you were to name, define Ole Miss in one word, I'd say volatile. It's just, this is an offense that can score almost at will. We've seen them put up a ton of points already this season, one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC, and a great passing game for Ole Miss. But the defense hasn't been too sharp. I mean, they've allowed 24, 17, and 21 points to 3 weak teams this season. So I do expect Alabama's offense to have a fine game, scoring in the high 40s in this one. But I think Ole Miss is going to put up a fight offensively as well. We saw last year 63-48 final score in this matchup. I don't know if it's going to be that high scoring. It's 111 points, but that total set at 80. It opened up at 77.5. I like the over. I think we have another shootout on our hands.
Yeah, I like Ole Miss in this one against Alabama. I think they have a shot at the outright. These are the teams that traditionally give Saban coach teams fits. These Ole Miss, and if you look back, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, when they have the high-flying offense, Saban, that's when he normally gets caught. And it doesn't matter if it's at Tuscaloosa or on the road. It just seems that more often than not, it actually happens at home. But we go to another big one, and this one is, Cincinnati at Notre Dame. Notre Dame super disrespected last week against Wisconsin. And, the game might have been a lot closer the most of the way on the field than the final score. But in the end, it was clearly a Notre Dame game. I didn't even understand how Wisconsin was favored in that game personally. But, when we look at that one, but, in this one, we got a little different style team here in the Cincinnati Bearcats, and they are nasty. Of course, Brian Kelly, former coach of Cincinnati.
Yeah, this is Cincinnati's Super Bowl. I mean, this is the game that they wanted. They got a top 10 team in the regular season. They're on the road. I think out of the top 10 teams, this is the one you want to face if you're Cincinnati. I think they match up well with Notre Dame. Now, we know the Notre Dame defense had some question marks start of the season. Florida State ran all over them in that game, but it was a lot stronger in last week's game against Wisconsin. But was it Notre Dame's defense or was it Wisconsin's offense struggling? I think it was a little bit of both, but I do think Cincinnati's much stronger on both sides of the ball than Wisconsin is. This is a road game for Cincinnati, but this is the spot they've wanted to be in for years. I don't think they're going to blow their chances here. I'm going to take the Cincinnati Bearcats. I'll lay the points.
Cincinnati wins here, wins out. They are in the playoff.
Oh, yeah.
They are the first group outside of the Power 5 to be in the playoff. Of course, they're moving to the Big 12, so they'll be part of the Power 5. But, the thing is that Cincinnati is just a super physical team, and if they can carry that over into this one against Notre Dame, who just played against a fairly physical team, so they're probably not feeling so great this week, I could see Cincinnati. I would say that Cincinnati has more of an attitude, than a Wisconsin does, like more that mean streak, that nastiness. When you see the teams go from the middle of the pack or like kind of the upper middle to the pack to the front, and Cincinnati has that. They've had a few years where they've had these chances against the big guys and haven't been able to do it. Remember Brian Kelly, the year that he left for Notre Dame, they went to the Sugar Bowl, got routed by Tim Tebow in his last game as a Gator at Florida. You saw Cincinnati in spots like that, but this is a little different story. Luke Fickell's just a good defensive coach, and we're starting to see that. He was the interim coach at Ohio State when Urban Meyer went down ill for a season and did not have good results there. He took over at Cincinnati. There were a lot of doubters, but man, these guys bring the heat like a Greg Schiano thumping defense, physically, offensively as well, rushing the football. This is going to be a good game. Since we know what Notre Dame's going to try and go over the top on them. That's the only chance that they have here. But I don't think Cohen can beat them. I don't. I think Cincinnati's going to hammer Notre Dame, and I think there's going to be a lot of celebrating there by the Bearcats in this one. Go to our final game of this video. In this one, we go between the hedges in Athens, where the Bulldogs of Georgia, who have been absolutely lights out this season. If you haven't watched any of their games outside of that Clemson game, well, you've missed a lot. And then Arkansas, who another team kind of flying under the radar here. It's tough to say that they haven't, that the wins, to discount their wins in any way, but it'll be interesting to hear what you have to say. It's a Steve Sarkisian coach Texas team, to begin with. Texas A&M not really quite the same this season without Kellen Mond, and they struggled to score against Colorado. Arkansas, but you can't take anything away from Arkansas. Who, no one has any expectations of.
I know. The excitement here at Arkansas, I haven't seen this in quite a while. Definitely can't take away from anything from their wins, like Mitch said. I do think they're catching Texas and Texas A&M at the right time. We can say that, but I think Georgia, they were my favorite to win the championship before the season. I hold that right now. They're playing lights out football, both sides of the ball, running the ball well, stopping the run defensively, just everything you could hope for. But to me, this isn't a Georgia team that's going to blow out these tough competitions like Arkansas. We saw that week one game. I know it was week one, but against Clemson, Georgia controlled that game from start to finish. Yet it was only a 7-point win, 10-3 final score. And we've seen Clemson week by week get worse and worse and show that they're really not a top team that we've seen from Clemson. So Arkansas, they can run the ball well. They average over 45 rushing attempts per game. We know Georgia can stop the run, but Arkansas can stop the run as well. I think this is, we see a low total at 48.5. In a spread game like 18.5 for Georgia. It's a little strange for me. I think it's going to be a defensive game all the way. And I see Georgia winning this game comfortably, not really having an upset alert, but just too many points in my opinion. I think it's going to be a 14, 17-point win for Georgia. So I'll take the Arkansas points here.
I could see this one either being tight, a tight game in the 20-17, 24-21 range, or it's going to be, like you said, a 17-7 type game, where, maybe Arkansas gets in on them somehow. But this Georgia defense, I love defense, and I got to say, I know they played Vandy last week, but man, it was like the Vandy running backs, they didn't even want the ball. It looked like Fast Times at Ridgemont High when they break the guy's car up and he's just like, flying all over the place, just killing people. That's what it looked like out there on the field at Vandy last week. The first play of the game, the Georgia defensive line was 6 yards into the backfield for a depleting hit, and it went downhill from there. Vandy crossed the 50-yard line twice in that game.
Oh wow! I didn't even know they did that.
Yeah, they missed a field goal attempt, and then they also got inside They also, I think, were ready to score a touchdown, and I think Georgia got the turnover on them. But that Georgia D is sick. Anyways, that wraps up this week's college football. We've got big games there across the board. Of course, you can be sure to check out Ron's take every week here at sportschatplace.com for Saturday college football, and then, of course, for Sunday NFL football. Been posting these a little bit late, but I think I'm going to post them a little early this week, give everybody a chance to take a peek. Of course, we'll be back next week for Ron's take. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and join us.